after the presentation and during, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
You want us to stand with the camera, you said with the
Maybe stand right over here off the side,
this-
or we can get out of your way.
Your preference, we'll
Yeah.
stand wherever. We'll stand on our head if you want.
You tell us. Glenn, you tell us. All right. There.
Is this good?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Little to your left.
Well, here.
No, a little to the right.
One foot.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Whatever you
You're good.
Appreciate it. Thanks, sir. Thank you. So, thank you everyone for hosting us here again. Just to say it again, if you haven't heard, I'm Sean Luce, Chief Operating Officer of Berkeley Patients Group, and also a partner in Marin Community Partners, which is the project that we're proposing for here in Blackpoint. And this is my colleague, Sabrina Fendrick. So could I get a quick show of hands? Who was at our meeting in July? How many folks saw us previously? So looks like about half the room, but half the room is perhaps new to you. So I'll go over a couple things as I get started that will be repetitive for the folks that were there in July, but I want to make sure the folks that weren't there in July know a little bit about who we are before we talk about what's happened since July. Because my main priority with this conversation today is to update you on what we've done with your feedback that we received in July. Because it was a great meeting. We had a lot of dialogue. We presented a lot of plans. We heard a lot of feedback, and we took that back to our offices and back to our team, and we processed that, and we've made some changes. So we're going to talk about that today. But so just to give you a background for folks who this is new to, as you heard, we're with Berkeley Patients Group is sort of where we initially came from. This is our parent company here in the Bay Area. We've been in the medical marijuana business here for the last 17 years. So we've been operating primarily in Berkeley, but we also have one and operate licenses in Maine, Nevada, Oregon, and here in California. So we have a lot of experience with this. Like I said, 17 years. What we feel like we pioneered and really created was the community-based approach to medical marijuana distribution and providing that safe access to patients. So not only do we provide medical marijuana, but we try to do it in a way that's responsive and in tune with our community. So we offer things like social services to our patients and our members. We try to give back to our community, and most importantly, we try to be responsive and in tune to the needs of that community. So that's really what we do as our team. So here with Marin Community Partners, what we've done is we've teamed up with a couple of families here with deep ties in this county, in this area here of Nevada, both the Higgins family and the Heaton family here represented in the audience. And so when this whole process started about medical marijuana in Marin County, many of you probably know the supervisors. They decided, hey, this is happening. It's been the law of the land for many years, but we don't have any facilities here in the county. So they decided to offer 4 permits, and many people were interested in that. It's something that interested us. We said, hey, we know how to do this. We do this well. We'd like to bring our successful model here to Marin County. But we know through our experience and what works is that you can't just come into a community without any knowledge or really any guidance of how that community works and any local connections. So that's why we teamed up with locals, and we've formed this joint venture, which is Marin Community Partners, which is our new vehicle that we propose to provide medical marijuana to patients here in Marin County. So that's what we have, and that's who we are. So now, since we last talked, initially we were here and we were talking about a property at 35 Harbor Drive. That is the former Cricket building where they did Cricket Financial Services there. Is that?
And an antique shop.
Yeah, and an antique shop previously. We looked at that. It's really it's an old house that is now commercial. I'm sure almost everybody here knows about that property. So we looked at that. We thought that was going to be our best bet, but after hearing from this group and looking at it and really coming back and digesting what was going on there, we thought, you know what, that's not really best, and we can do better, and we can more address some of the concerns by shifting our property right next door to 9 and 11 Harbor Drive, which is right now just an empty lot and a residential home that's lived in by the Mazars. And they, we came in contact with them as we were looking at these properties on Harbor Drive. As many of you probably know, there's also some applications in 5 Harbor Drive, the Rossi Deli property. So as we were talking about those properties, walking up and down the block, we got to know the Mazars, and they said, wow, we really don't like the idea of a dispensary right next to us, but we're also ready to retire, or are retired. We're thinking about selling this property. Maybe you'd like to do this development on our site. And we looked at it and we said, well, obviously your house, as you see depicted here, the house isn't ideal for any kind of business, but the property itself is fairly large and expansive, is in a commercial zone. This is the existing house here in the image. And we thought, hey, on this property, we could do what we intend to do. So some of the things that we heard last time that were concerns to the community that we tried to address was the fear that a dispensary would bring increased crime. We heard that a dispensary may impact traffic adversely. Parking, I'm going to lump those two together, traffic/parking. We also heard that a dispensary would decrease property values in the community. And then fourth thing that we really internalized from that first meeting was that the site, particularly that we were looking at of 35 Harbor Drive, would have septic problems, and we wouldn't be able to manage the increased load at that site. So those are the kind of major 4 things that we took away from that first meeting, and we said, hey, how can we address this? How can we make this better? Because we didn't come into it thinking we had it all figured out or that we had the perfect plan, but that's why we started early to get this feedback and to work with it and incorporate it into our plans. So we are pretty confident that this new property that we've identified, the 11 Harbor Drive, 9/11, there's actually 2 parcels there that you wouldn't necessarily know from just looking at it on the street, but when you look at the parcel maps, it's there. So we think that we can do better on these things. A couple things, more parking. This lot or this property is substantially bigger. So we can fit a lot more parking. You don't really have an expansive view in any of our images to show the entire parking lot, but it's basically 2 different lots, one right here across from the existing house, and then one right in front of it. So we're going to get around 25 parking spots on that piece of property. So we won't have to be having any parking overflowing onto Harbor Drive into public areas, things like that. The other thing that we wanted to address was septic. People were right and accurate that putting the right size septic system for a commercial activity in 35 Harbor Drive was going to be difficult. It's not to say it's impossible, but this property offers a lot better opportunities to install a proper septic system. In this property, we can service way more people than we expect that we'll actually have on this property. And the septic system would largely be up on the hill behind the new construction. We have, like I said, we have more space here, and we can do more rather than there. We were trying to figure out how can we shoehorn in parking and septic in front of the property.
I hate to interrupt you, but could you tell me where Harbor Drive is there? I'm having a hard time orienting myself.
It's basically, if you're on Harbor Drive, this would be the front of the property. So Harbor Drive like this. This is the existing
So the Mazar house.
existing house here, and then what we're proposing.
West side of
Yeah.
the house.
That silver car is parked perpendicular to Harbor Drive.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the side of the house.
Yeah, Harbor Drive here.
Yeah.
This house existing, and then we would do our new roughly 3,000 square foot retail facility that kind of goes into the hill right behind it there.
And
behind the
isn't
house.
there
Yes.
currently a garage?
Yeah,
location?
right, there is.
Kind of by the
Yeah.
front of this building?
Yeah, exactly, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So on that picture, where is Harbor Drive?
You know, this is basically from the same, yeah, it's basically zoomed in of the same image, so, you know, kind of think of us as here on the western corner of the property, looking in, and, you know, the highway would be behind the hill here. This is just basically a zoomed in, looking at the new construction without seeing
Oh, okay.
the parking in the house.
I see it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So what was my next point there? So not only does this property, 911 Harbor Drive, offer better opportunities for proper septic system, it also offers us the opportunity to really custom build a facility to meet the needs of this business. Because at 35, you know, we could make it work, it would work, but ultimately we were retrofitting an existing property which was initially constructed as a residential property and then had a commercial function in it, so wasn't ideal, but we could really build this property to be exactly what we need to meet our security needs, our operational needs, things like that. So that definitely is a benefit there. And then secondarily, you know, we feel like we can really incorporate the security needs and best practices in this facility that we couldn't do at 35 Harbor Drive. So that's a little bit of why we moved to this property. I want to take another few minutes and pass the mic off to Sabrina here to talk about some getting specific into some of those concerns that we heard last time and address those more. And then once we go through a few more things there, we'll take some questions and begin the dialogue. But,
Thank you, John.
you're welcome.
Yeah, so one of the things that we definitely heard a lot at the last meeting was this concern that it would attract more crime. And so we really wanted to dig into that data and see what other researchers and peer-reviewed articles have found in terms of the correlation between marijuana dispensaries and its impact on crime in those geographic areas. And there's been several studies that have actually come out and show there was a federally commissioned study in 2012 found that there was no correlation between the existence of a marijuana dispensary and an increase in violent or property crime. I can read a couple of quotes from you guys. The Journal of Studies on Alcohol and Drugs also found that there is not an association with crime rates or other factors, especially when you take into account certain guardianship measures, then it may actually and does deter possible motivated offenders. And a lot of those measures are things that we are taking into account and utilizing. A UCLA study also reconfirmed that and even highlighted some of the measures that were taken into account that were found to be correlated with a decrease in crime, or at least a no positive impact on crime, and which includes the presence of a doorman, which we will have, security cameras, which we will absolutely have, signage stating recommendation card for entry and a pass-through door, all of which we will have. And then the last thing is Sebastopol is one of the closer areas that has a dispensary, and the sheriff there has been quoted as saying, "We've had no increased crime associated with our medical cannabis dispensary. No fights, no loitering, no increase in graffiti, no increase in littering, zip." So, and that's from the existing Sebastopol Police Chief, Jeffrey Weaver. And the other issue that we are also continuing to follow up on more of this research, but this is a lot of, majority of the data that I have found, there, like I said, has been no increase or positive impact on crime, violent or property, and potentially a good solution in neutralizing and deterring motivated offenders. The other issue that was mentioned a lot was traffic, and how much traffic is this gonna bring? What's the impact on that going to be? And when you look at a map of this address, 9 and 11 Harbor Drive, it's about a quarter of a mile right off of Highway 37, and it's pretty much the only way in and the only way out. So when you're talking about having individual customers coming in, they're going to be coming in off of 37, coming up a quarter of a mile and then getting back on the highway. They're not gonna be going through any residential neighborhoods. They're gonna have, it's not gonna put any traffic into the community. And we're expecting about a dozen visitors an hour in terms of, customer visit rates. So that's sort of, we're continuing to analyze the data and are looking to commission, some expert reports for us as well, which will, there will be some data included in the application. But that essentially covers that, and I'm gonna pass it back to Sean to highlight more of the security plans that I discussed a little bit from the studies that we are incorporating into the, our plan. The crime prevention through environmental design.
Yeah, thank you, Sabrina. So yeah, this kind of highfalutin concept of security that we've come upon is what they said is CPTED is the fancy acronym, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. It's something that I hadn't heard about until just a couple years ago myself, maybe 3 years ago. But when we were opening a dispensary up in Incline Village in Lake Tahoe area in Nevada, we thought long and hard about the security. We had a lot of the same questions come from the community about how are you going to handle this, what's going to happen. So we found a retired police officer from city of Las Vegas, actually, Chris Curtis, and he came onto our team as a consultant, and he gave us a lot of advice on how to handle things, how best to really structure our operations as it comes to security, and sort of from him, what he instilled in us, which is really what he thought was an important thing, was this theory and this practice of crime prevention through environmental design. So it really comes down to how you build your business and how you structure your facility and your property in ways that you don't make it conducive to crime and you actually deter crime through the physical construct of the place. So there's certain things that you use, it's actually a science, they call it, so you're creating these healthy, safe environments, and you're doing things like, putting landscaping in front of windows and things so that people can't just walk right up and crawl in. In this facility, we have, if you actually look at it, there's very few entry points in what we have. We have half the thing buried into the hillside, which is also more of our green environmental design. And then you also have a roof, which is impenetrable. We thought about things like, well, it'd be nice to have skylights and stuff for the environment, but actually, nope, that's a bit of a vulnerability. So it really doesn't fit with this theory and practice of security. Same things with these small little window slits here. Not exactly inviting, and no one's gonna drive a car through or smash right through that, but enough to get light through. These various design concepts that we use. And there's a lot to be said for deterrence, so it's about engaging with the environment, with the community, having people monitoring the facility, monitoring the door, moving and controlling traffic in and out. So it's something that it's not just our experience that we pull on here, but actually also using the best and the brightest in the world of security theory and consulting, just to make the most secure and safe and well-functioning facility that we can. So it really, what we're doing with this design complements the hard security features that you would have, just basically having good locks on your doors, security alarms, things like that. Those are all the kind of no-brainers, but then we have this extra layer of really thinking through the design and making sure that we're engaged and monitoring and making it as most crime deterrent as possible. Because although we don't see a lot of crime at medical marijuana facilities, we know that it could happen. Anything that has high-value items and things like that, it could happen, and we want to do our best to assuage everyone's fears and nip it in the bud.
And we even had a security team, a professional security team.
It's true, yeah, it is part of the application process here, but we have this small, simple statement from ABC Security, which is a security firm here in the Bay Area that reviewed our entire plan and said that they would sign off on it as third-party security consultants. So it is a good plan and meets the needs of the county ordinance. So another part of what we're doing just to make sure that we have a great plan and a secure facility.
Another issue was property value that
Yeah.
had been brought up.
Yeah, so that was one thing that we heard last time. Specifically, we heard the fear or the idea that one would have to disclose if they were selling their property that there was a medical marijuana facility in the neighborhood. And that was something that was kind of new to us, so I don't think we spoke much about it at that first meeting, but we did go back and consult with a number of real estate professionals and review the law and things like that, and we can confidently say that no one will have any issues having to disclose that there's a medical marijuana facility in the community. Just not a common practice with real estate transactions. Disclosures are more for things that that are that only the seller would know, things like that are a public fact. Is there a liquor store here? Is there a hospital? Is there a medical marijuana dispensary? Not a matter of disclosure. And we also had a lot of information about property values and questions there. And you have some
Yeah.
details that
We looked into some
Send
of
up there.
the data on that, and this being a relatively new policy that's coming around across the country, some of the data that we've seen come out of Colorado and Washington have been really interesting and shown that Colorado and Denver specifically have seen their property values skyrocket. In Denver in 2015, they found that annual home prices went up 24% just behind San Francisco. So it's one of the fastest growing regions for property value in the country. And for the entire state of Colorado, it was 20%. They've also found that in Washington, it's gone up about 8 to 9%, and in the state of Washington, which are the two states that had implemented actual retail regulations in 2012. And these were studies that were conducted 2 to 3 years after that. So these are just beginning new data, but from what we've seen, it's impossible to find anything to show that property values have fallen, and the only thing that we can find is that they've actually gone up. So those are some additional concerns that hopefully will mitigate, this data will hopefully mitigate some of your concerns. And a lot of what they have correlated the increase in value in Denver to is that the dispensaries in Denver are very nice, aesthetically pleasing facilities that really fit into the community, and they're building these nice family homes in the area, and it just is it's a part of the community that everybody has not only accepted but has really created a market for all of that. So this is a state-of-the-art, aesthetically pleasing facility that really it fits into the look of the community and the area. It's right into the hillside. These aren't your stereotypical sort of head shop that one might think or presume when you first think of a marijuana dispensary. This is a polished, professional, upscale retail business.
And these aren't just images that we cooked up and decided let's make something fanciful. I mean, these are the actual plans that we submitted with our applications. This is what we will be doing. And
the budget that we submitted that has to be included in the application includes all of the build out for this. So we did also commission a septic study in response to that issue that was brought up at the last meeting, because that sounds like that was something that a lot of the community has concerns over for different businesses in different areas. It sounds like it's not unique to what we're doing, but like you said, we absolutely heeded that and commissioned some study, a professional to come in and really create a state-of-the-art plan for us, which it's eco. So aside from the building being green friendly, a green building, it's also eco-friendly. The site design saves existing trees and controls water runoff. Low slung earth shelter design preserves the existing view of the wooded hillside, and the ample parking, like we said, will keep the the cars off the streets. And we don't expect to fill the whole parking lot because we're planning to really have about maybe 12 an hour. But we will have people monitoring the parking lot, controlling the traffic, ensuring that people are there to come in, do their business, and then come out and leave and not go anywhere nearby and go back to their homes and where they plan on going about their lives. So I think we want to turn it over and let you guys get to know our local partners, Tyler and JP, who want to talk a little bit more about some of the community engagement, and they're born and bred in Marin, I believe.
Yeah, so I think Sean and Sabina, great job. You covered, I think, everything that we heard at the last meeting. This is my best friend of 20 years, Tyler. He is from Marin County, I'm from Marin County. This is an opportunity that we came across with Berkeley Patients Group. And if we were gonna do it, we wanna make sure we did it right. And this is definitely the best operator in the country as far as I'm concerned. And there's really not much more to it than that. We wanna make sure that we're going about this the best way possible.
Yeah, I think this whole thing started, ironically enough, I got too much into the backstory at a baseball game, a Giants game, and 18 months ago I didn't know much about the dispensary business, the medical marijuana world at all. By that introduction and meeting some of the Tim Schick and some of the partners with Berkeley Patients Group, I was quickly introduced to what everything is with the dispensary world, and I just think that after being introduced to them and seeing their facility and seeing how they run their business, I went from the outside and really learned that it is a legitimate business set up to provide medicine for people who need to solve certain problems that they have with their health. And I was originally not even interested at all, and just by being presented and walking through their facility, it was absolutely mind-blowing. By going through BPG, their kind of their first store in Berkeley, and seeing, like Sabrina touched on, not a head shop, but a medical facility that's professional from the moment you pull into the driveway, through them checking your identification to make sure you're a valid patient, to checking into your history and what products that you've had and your reaction to them, whether they be positive or negative, and help guide you to better medicine, all the way to egress and running out of the property and continuing to help the community and clean it up. So in that sense, I just, we're kind of in the middle here. This is a foreign party, it's a foreign business to this community, and we're proposing to enter into yours. And we sit somewhere in between this community and Berkeley Patients Group. We have an invested interest in this county. JP's born and raised here in Novato as well. I was from Blue Valley originally, I live in San Rafael. We're vested. We moved away from the city, from the county for some time, and realized we moved away from the best area in the world. And we don't intend on tarnishing any part of this county or community. And I think, especially considering that we're entering into an area that now has some other players, some other competition, I think that, had we not been in this game, it would have maybe been a whole new world for you folks in this community. And I think that although it seems very scary because of the fear of the unknown, it may be a great opportunity for you actually to be introduced to these folks, to BPG, and realize that there is maybe a better option than others that could have been here setting up shop in your community outside of us. And so what me and JP want to be is a resource to anybody that has any concerns or fears or anxiety points about something like this going into their community. And I think as we just realized some changes over the last week legally, California voted for this to be a recreational substance. So we're moving beyond just medical and getting into the recreational side of things. But I think what we need to do is separate maybe beliefs and thoughts about what is legal, what is right, what is wrong, and your personal interest in the marijuana in general, and realize that this is a full-fledged legitimate business that's been practicing for 17 years, and they know what they're doing. And they impressed me 18 months ago, and I don't think that there's any reason to say that they can't do that for you folks as well.
You ready to take questions?
Yeah, I think so.